Welcome to Kermode Uncut. Christmas is here. How do we know? Is it snowing outside? No. Because the lights are on in the high street? No. Because the Christmas edition of the Radio Times has arrived. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, this is a really big deal. I remember as a kid, when the Christmas edition of the Radio Times came in, we used to have a special binder to put it in, keep it nice and crisp. And you'd go through marking all the films that were on television that you wanted to watch over the Christmas period. It was really exciting. It's really stuck with me. So what I'm going to do in this blog is to go through the Christmas edition of the Radio Times and look at the film choices made for each day by Andrew Collins and Barry Norman, two of the greatest film critics in the UK, certainly two of my favourites, and giving you my take on the best films broadcast that day. So let's start with Saturday the 20th. Now, Barry Norman has chosen Casablanca, which is showing on More 4 and is an absolute die-hard classic. And I wouldn't argue with that, but I would like to fly the flag for Kick-Ass, which is on E4. If you want something maybe with a little more bite, maybe with a little more edge, certainly with more jokes. On to Sunday the 21st, and Barry has chosen Gran Torino, which is a great Clint Eastwood film, which I really like. However, I have to say my choice would be The Terminal on BBC Two. This is one of Steven Spielberg's frequently overlooked films, and over the years I've become more and more fond of Spielberg. Tom Hanks stuck in an airport doesn't sound like the best setup for a movie, but actually it really works. Give it a go. On to Monday the 22nd. Now, Andrew Collins has chosen Cinderella, the classic Disney animation, which is a wonderful film. I kind of expect that everyone's got Cinderella on DVD or maybe even on an old video. I'd like to choose Terrence Malick's Tree of Life, which is on Channel 4. It's one of those films that reminds you why it is that Terrence Malick is held up by so many people as the great master of cinema. I mean, yes, there are problems with it. Yes, there are moments when it oversteps the mark. Yes, there are moments when it becomes, frankly, a little bit silly. But it is reaching towards something great, and there are individually great things in it. On Tuesday the 23rd, now Barry Norman has chosen Finding Neverland, which I have to say is a film that never really worked for me. My choice for that day would certainly be Pan's Labyrinth, which is on the Horror Channel. Pan's Labyrinth, a masterpiece by Guillermo del Toro. For my money, one of the best movies of the 21st century. If you've never seen Pan's Labyrinth, now is a perfect chance to catch up with it. And it's a lot better than Finding Neverland. Which brings us to Christmas Eve. Now, Andrew Collins has chosen two movies for Christmas Eve. As his family film of the day on BBC One, he's gone for 101 Dalmatians, which is a brilliant animation, but I suspect that everyone's already got it on DVD. And for his film of the day, Skyfall, the James Bond movie, which for my money is pretty much the best James Bond movie out there, with the possible exception of On Her Majesty's Secret Service, although that does have the Lazenby problem. I, however, am going to go for Wallace and Gromit and the Curse of the Were-Rabbit as my family choice on BBC One, and for the older viewers, Cabin in the Woods on Channel 5. Which brings us to Christmas Day. Now look, in the Radio Times, Andrew Collins has gone for Puss in Boots, very, very popular choice, and Barry Norman has gone for White Christmas. No real surprises there. I, however, would like to draw your attention on ITV, a screening of Nanny McPhee. I love Emma Thompson, but particularly I love the Nanny McPhee movies. And over on Film 4, Rise of the Planet of the Apes. This year was the year of Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, but Rise of the Planet of the Apes was where it all began again for Apes fans. Now on Boxing Day, again, the Radio Times has two choices. Barry Norman, his film of the day, Singing in the Rain, absolute die-hard classic, and Andrew Collins has gone for Marvel Avengers Assemble. I'd like to highlight two screenings. Firstly, over on Channel 5, A Shot in the Dark, not only because it's the funniest of the Pink Panther movies, but also because it's written by William Peter Blatty, who wrote The Exorcist. Yeah, the guy who wrote the scariest film ever wrote A Shot in the Dark. Also want to draw your attention to a screening of Hunky Dory on BBC Two. Now, this is an often overlooked little gem by Mark Evans. It doesn't sound like the best setup for a film set in the 1970s, and it's basically pupils attempting to put on a rock version of a Shakespeare play. But it's got real heart, real soul, and it's really worth checking out. Moving on to Saturday the 27th. Now, Andrew Collins has gone for The Raven. I have to say that my choice would be Zulu, not least because if you're a regular here at the blog, you remember we had a special screening of Zulu this year, and I was very, very honoured to be part of the introduction. I love that film, even though obviously it loses something on the small screen. However, on to Sunday the 28th. Barry Norman's choice, film of the day, E.T. And all I can say is 2 thumbs up. And there's agreement again on Monday the 29th. Andrew Collins' choice of the day, The Muppets. And I'm not going to argue with that. It's a wonderful relaunch of the Muppets franchise, and arguably the best of all the Muppets movies. Although I will always have a soft spot for Muppet Christmas Carol. Now, on Tuesday the 30th, Andrew Collins has chosen as his film of the day, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. I would just like to point out there is also a screening on Channel 4 of The Look of Love. It's a very flawed film, but it does feature Steve Coogan doing a brilliant performance as Paul Raymond, and it's kind of worth it just for Steve Coogan. And then, look, New Year is upon us. On the 31st, on New Year's Eve, Barry Norman's film of the day in Radio Times is Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Not everyone's favourite, so I'm going to go for Shadow of a Doubt. Some classic Hitchcock, and I think it's Hitchcock's favourite of his own films. And finally, we're at New Year's Day. Barry Norman's choice for New Year's Day, The Adventures of Tintin, The Secret of the Unicorn. This is the animated version done by Steven Spielberg. And Andrew Collins' film of the day, The Dark Knight. Both very good choices. My choices, however, on BBC One, Mary Poppins, of course, practically perfect in every way. And on BBC Two, Galaxy Quest, one of the most enduringly entertaining sci-fi spoofs I have ever seen. So there you have it. That's my Christmas all sewn up. What about you? What did I miss? What are your favourites? Let me know.